Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today is the disappearance day of two associates of Lord Chaitanya. Srīdhara Pandita, also known as Kolavechar Sridhar, is different to Sridhar Swami. So there's a lot about him, but he's a very famous associate of the Lord, and there's a significant description which I'm just going to read. Then we will see about Mukunda-Datta Prabhu. Okay. Kola bechataya khyata pandita. This is a different meter. It's Gaura Ganodesha Deepika. I'm just going to read it. Kola bechataya khyata pandita Srīdharo Dvijaha Asid vraje hasya karo yo namna Kusuma Savaha. One of the 12 Gopals in Krishna Lila was named Kusuma Sava. He appeared in Gaura Lila as Srīdhara Pandita, who was given the name Kola Becha, bark seller. Srīdhara Pandita was a resident of Navadvip. Navadvip is composed of 9 islands, of which the central island is known as Antardvip. He used to live at the northern extremity of Mayapur and to the southeast of Chandkasi Samadhi, in the place that now goes by the name of Sridhar Angan. During his lifetime, it was a banana orchard, which nowadays is no longer the case, at least not to our mortal eyes. During this incarnation, Sridhar played the role of a poor Brahmin who made his living selling the produce of his banana garden. In order to keep the memory of Srīdhara Pandita alive, the founder of the worldwide Chaitanya and Gaudiya Mats, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, discovered and revealed this site of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Deity worship was established there, and it continued until after Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance. Now, because of problems with local people, the beauty of this place has once again been covered over. Even so, during the Navadvip Parikram, devotees still pay their obeisances to the memory of Srīdhara Pandita at that spot. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Navadvip Dham Mahatmya says that Srīdhara Pandit's house was on the other side of the weavers' district. Mahaprabhu often stopped the kirtan here so that devotees could rest. Nityananda Prabhu says the following to Jiva Goswami. Out of his mercy, Mahaprabhu Gauranga Hari would end the kirtan here so that devotees could rest. It is therefore known as Vishram Sthan, or the Lord's place of rest. So let us repose a while here at the house of Srīdhara Pandita. According to Bhakti Vinod, in the same book, there was previously a large pond near Sridhar Banana's orchard, but this too is no longer visible. Sridhar's poverty. Material wealth and prosperity are not the truest signs of the Lord's mercy on someone. Those who worship the gods and goddesses are generally seen to prosper materially, but one who is rich in the wealth of devotion to the Lord is the one who has truly benefited from his mercy. Mahaprabhu gave this teaching to his associates through Srīdhara Pandita, a devotee of Vishnu. One day, the Lord went to Sridhar's place and asked him why he was so poor. He was worshipping the husband of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, yet he never had enough money for food or clothing, and his house was dilapidated. On the other hand, those who worship the bloodthirsty Kali always seemed to have an abundance of material wealth. Sridhar answered that a bird who made its nest in the trees and wandered from place to place to find food was passing the time of day in the same way as a king in his palace who enjoyed the best objects of gratification. There was no difference of degree or amount of pleasure experienced by the two. The Lord then said to Sridhar, externally, though you appear to be poor, you are actually a true rich man. I will shortly reveal to the entire foolish world that devotees are qualified to possess the greatest wealth. Indeed, they are the owners of all things. Generally, we call someone deprived of wealth and possessions and a home poor or unfortunate. One who has these things is called rich or fortunate. People try to accumulate wealth in order to find happiness, not distress. But it is the happiness they find that is the real wealth, not the external possessions through which they hope to find it. And so then, the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed the charming pastime of hungrily taking Sridhar's foodstuffs without being invited to do so. While the Lord was still a student, Sridhar used to make his living by selling banana flowers, mocha, and the core of a banana plant, tora. This is, you can cook both of these, banana stem and the banana flower. It's edible. In fact, it's actually a delicacy. He would spend half of whatever little money he made in this way on worshipping the Ganges, the other half on his own necessities. Like Yudhishthir, he was a great devotee of truth and would always tell the real price of the items he sold. Everyone in Navadvip knew this and would not haggle with him. But Mahaprabhu would come to Sridhar and give him only half the amount he was asking for his bananas, banana flowers or tora, and then walk off with them. Every day, the two of them would pull back and forth on a bunch of bananas or something else and arguing for an hour or more over the price that was to be paid. Every day, they would argue for an hour and a half. That's a lot. Then finally, Mahaprabhu would walk away with the goods, leaving only half the asked price. Sridhar would always tell the truth and give the real price of each item. But then the Lord would still give him only half the amount he asked for it and then take it. Sridhar would jump up and grab the item, trying to take it back, even pushing and shoving the Lord. This is from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya, chapter 9, text 163 to 165. Even though the Lord argued with Sridhar, he only took his wares when he saw that Sridhar was not angry. From a superficial point of view, it appears that Mahaprabhu was mistreating Sridhar by stealing from him. But the matter of fact is that Sridhar allowed him to get away with it. Upon seeing the Lord's beauty, he would become completely enchanted and immersed in an ocean of joy. So how could he get angry with him? While arguing with Sridhar, Mahaprabhu would delight in calling him names and insulting him, sometimes even hinted at his own divine identity. This is from Chaitanya Bhagavat again. Every day you buy things to offer the Ganges. Why don't you just give something to me without charging anything? Don't you know I am the father of the Ganges you worship? I assure you this is the absolute truth. They finally came to a settlement and Sridhar agreed to daily give Mahaprabhu some bananas and other items from the banana tree for free. From then on, the Lord daily ate with great satisfaction from the little bowls made of banana bark given to him by Sridhar. The Lord said, "Very well, there is no reason for you to give me anything else." And from then onwards, he ate with great contentment on the banana leaves Sridhar had given him. The Lord thus eats anything that the devotee offers him, but rejects even luxurious items given to him by a non-devotee. Sridhar blessed at the Mahaprakash. On the eventful night that the Lord sat at Srivas Thakur's at the altar in Srivas Thakur's home and revealed his divine form to his associates, he ordered them to summon Sridhar also. Sridhar would regularly stay up the whole night chanting the holy names and calling out to the Lord. When Sridhar arrived at Srivasangan, he beheld the Lord's glorious form and fell to the ground in a faint. He was brought back to consciousness by the Lord's voice, and then with the power that was given to him through the Lord's mercy, began to recite hymns of glorification. Satisfied with Sridhar's hymns of praise, Mahaprabhu offered him the 8 mystic powers as benediction. But Sridhar refused, saying he only wanted service to the Lord's lotus feet. Lord Vishwambhar repeatedly urged Sridhar to ask for a boon. Finally, Sridhar said, "My dear Lord, if you must give me something, then I ask for this. May that Brahmin boy who used to pinch my banana leaves and bark at me be the Lord of me lifetime after lifetime. May I serve the lotus feet of that Brahmin boy who always used to argue with me. Who can recognize the servants of the Lord who want nothing of wealth, followers, or scholarship? Of what use are learning, wealth, beauty, fame, or high birth? All of these things simply increase one's pride and ultimately are valueless. A millionaire may try for millions of years to achieve what Sridhar did while selling bananas and banana products and still not be able to do so." This both is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments on these verses. Through empirical knowledge or external analysis, no one can recognize the true character of a devotee. It should not be thought that the ability to collect great amounts of money is a function of devotion, nor that someone who is able to accumulate a great number of followers is a better Vaishnava than someone who cannot. So this is, it's in the context of ISKCON losing this Ritvik battle with the court and all of that, and why this is such a huge thing in India today, right now. It should be noted that it says here, no ability to collect a lot of amounts of money or accumulate great number of followers is a sign of a great Vaishnava, or somebody who is a better Vaishnava than another. And that's very interesting, because both of these activities are almost required in the spreading of Krishna consciousness. You need to collect a lot of money, and you need to have a lot of followers. I mean, like, you need to generate a lot of followers to further the mission of Lord Chaitanya. But neither of these are directly a characteristic of someone who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness. Although, even if you read the Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada, these are definitely attributes that are associated to someone who has the mercy of the Lord. But just that is not a sign. And this is difficult, because it's a tendency of those who are neophyte to judge a devotee by these things. How big of a pujari is he. If he head pujari, means you have to give him more respect. And if he just joined the pujari department, then ignore him. This is how devotees interact. You go to, who's the head pujari? Or we were with a donor recently, and with Shivaram Maharaj, and we were trying to encourage him to come and meet Bhakti Vikas Maharaj also. And his first question, but who's the big guru? Isn't he the big guru? Pointing to Shivaram Maharaj. Who's the big guru? We were trying to explain, well, they're all disciples of Srila Prabhupada. It's like, they're both big. It's like, and he was like, oh, is it a zone thing? Is it like this area, that geographical area? So I want to go to the big guy. Who's the big guy? The big guy is whoever's, well, in India, whoever's got the biggest belly is the big guy. It's like, it's characteristic. Among a group of Brahmins, who's the leader by the way he walks in, and it has a certain clout that they carry. So this is how people judge. They say, oh, okay, this is the big guru. Actually, specifically in regards to book distribution, devotees, when they would distribute in India to these Sabarimala Ayyappa followers, go, and there's generally, what is that person called? Guru Swami, something like that. Some Guru Swami or something like this. And he's the leader of the group. And it's like a tradition in their group that you have to go with this Guru. The Guru has to take you to Ayyappa. Right? So there's this Guru Swami. And this Guru Swami is literally the one. How do you find it in the group, in the train you're going, and you find, who's this? Guru Swami is the one who looks like the biggest sense enjoyer in the group. He's sitting there, he's got all this food around him, and there's one person fanning him, or something like that, and this is the big guy. And basically, if you convince him to take Bhagavad Gita and he orders, then everybody else will take the Gita, or something like that. So that was how you would find. But this is how people judge. And it's the same in Krishna consciousness also. It's neophyte devotees, they judge a person's advancement based on the number of followers or something that he has. And in that case, they would respect someone who's a sannyasi over someone who's a grihastha, even though both may be initiating spiritual masters and both are, very exalted devotees. They'll go to the sannyasi, not to the grihastha, because he has a wife, something like that. Just mundane perception. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, a servant of Sri Chaitanya may have very little money and may show no signs of having a great number of followers and have no talent for argument or debate. Ordinary people are unable to understand why he is indifferent to these externals. The answer is that these devotees consider service to Sri Chaitanya something more valuable than the accumulation of wealth, followers, or learning. Thus, there is no possibility of the depth of their wisdom, their glories, and their superiority being perceived by the general public. Okay, continuing more on Sridhar, Kolavecha Sridhar. On the day he delivered Chand Kasi, Mahaprabhu led his Sankirtan party through the conch shell, merchant and weaver districts to Sridhar Pandit's house. There he took a long drink of water from Sridhar's old beaten iron pot. When Sridhar saw Mahaprabhu do this, he was mortified and fell unconscious. Mahaprabhu's action was meant to teach us that we can attain devotion by drinking a devotee's water. He wanted to show that even the water from a devotee's jug, even though it's old and rusty, is still like nectar to the Supreme Lord himself. By way of contrast, he ignores the proud non-devotee's water, even if offered in a jeweled goblet. When the Lord saw Sridhar's tumble-down shack of a home from a distance, he laughed quietly from the inner joy he felt. He led the company of devotees along the path to Sridhar's hut, and where he spotted an iron pot full of holes. There was a little water in it, and the Lord drank it with great joy. The Lord is Bhakta Vatsal, ever affectionate to his devotees, and this act overwhelmed him with feelings of love. Tears poured from his eyes like the currents of the Ganges, and a wonderful kirtan began in Sridhar's courtyard, in which all the devotees, led by Nityananda and Advaita Prabhus, were crying. My heart breaks when I think of the great joy they all experienced on that day at Sridhar's house. This is from Bhakti Ratnakar. Okay. Yeah, that's about it with Sridhar Pandit. Sridhar Pandit's pastimes are reserved for Nabadvip Leela. He doesn't have much of a role once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes sannyas. He among the other associates, feels great separation from the Lord. Okay, Mukunda-Datta. Mukunda-Datta also is an associate of the Lord in Nabadvip and was born in Chattagram, about 32 kilometers from the house of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Lord Chaitanya and Mukunda-Datta were friends and classmates and often encountered logical arguments. Such instances are mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Leela. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned from Gaya, Mukunda-Datta made him feel nice by reading verses from Srimad Bhagavatam about Krishna Leela. It was Mukunda-Datta who encouraged Gadadhar Pandit to come and see Pundarik Vidyanidhi and then become Pundarik Vidyanidhi's disciple. Mukunda-Datta also is known for his singing. He sang he sang for Mahaprabhu's pleasure, especially at a function where Mahaprabhu exhibited ecstatic symptoms for 21 hours straight. Okay. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would refer to Mukunda-Datta as, I don't know how to pronounce this in Bengali, Khada Hatiya Beta. Khadaha Hatiya Beta, as he was an attendee in multiple functions conducted by different classes of non-devotees. Mukunda-Datta began as the first son when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed as the goddess of fortune. So, Mukunda-Datta Prabhu was the first one to drink breast milk from Mahaprabhu when he exhibited himself as goddess Mahalakshmi, and then breastfed all the devotees. This is the esoteric pastimes of Mahaprabhu in Srivas Pandit's house that happened in Navadvip. Okay, then one time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed all the devotees while leaving Mukunda-Datta bereft of those blessings. He did so because Mukunda-Datta offended Bhakti Devi. And by attending discourses from the Mayavadis. So Mukunda-Datta had gone and heard discourses of the Mayavadis, and Mahaprabhu used that as an example. Of course, he's a Vaishnav. This is his pastime. And at that time, Mukunda-Datta decided to commit suicide to make up for the offense. And Mukunda-Datta asked Lord Chaitanya if he would receive Lord Chaitanya's mercy in a future birth. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies that Mukunda-Datta would receive the mercy of Mahaprabhu after passing for 1 million births. And what happens is Mukunda-Datta becomes overwhelmed with joy, and And he cries out. He says, only a million birds, only a million birds. In after a million birds, I will surely get Mahaprabhu's mercy. And he starts dancing. Seeing this, Mahaprabhu's hearts melt. And he then says, by your faith and conviction in what I said, I destroy all your offenses immediately. And according to Krishna Lila, according to Gaura Ganodesha Deepika, he was known as Madhukanta in Krishna Lila, a sweet singer who has a honey sweet throat, Madhukanta. And okay, that's about it, about Mukunda-Datta. So we'll move on to today's Bhagavatam verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 10, Divisions of Creation, Text 14. Sargo navavidhastasya prakrito vaikritastu yaha kaladravya gunairasya trividha pratisankramaha. Please repeat. Sargo navavidhastasya prakrito vaikritastu yaha kaladravya gunairasya trividha pratisankramaha. Sargo navavidhastasya prakrito vaikritastu yaha kaladravya gunairasya trividha pratisankramaha. Sargo navavidhastasya prakrito vaikritastu yaha kaladravya gunairasya trividha pratisankramaha. Matajis. Sargo navavidhastasya prakrito vaikritastu yaha Sargaha, creation. Navavidaha, of 9 different kinds. Tasya, its. Prakritaha, material. Vaikritaha, by the modes of material nature. To, but. Yaha, that which. Kala, eternal time. Dravya, matter. Gunaihi, qualities. Asya, its. Trividhaha, 3 kinds. Pratisankramaha, annihilation. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srīdhara Prabhupada. There are 9 kinds of different creations besides the one which naturally occurs due to the interactions of the modes. There are 3 kinds of annihilations due to eternal time, material elements, and the quality of one's work. Purport. The scheduled creations and annihilations take place in terms of the Supreme Will. There are other creations due to interactions of material elements which take place by the intelligence of Brahma. Later, these will be more explicitly explained. At present, only preliminary information is given. The 3 kinds of annihilations are 1. Due to the scheduled time of the annihilation of the entire universe. 2. Due to a fire which emanates from the mouth of Ananta. And 3. Due to one's qualitative actions and reactions. So, this is the Lord continuing to speak to Lord Brahma. And the verses after this, the different kinds of creations will be described. And just right after this. So there are totally 10 types of creations. So the So, and they're differentiated as Prakrita and Vaikrita. So Prakrita, as Mukunda-Datta Prabhu explained, is creation by the Supreme Lord. And then Vaikrita is the secondary creation, which is Visarga, also known as Visarga, secondary creation of Brahma himself. What is the difference? The Lord creates the building blocks. The Lord creates all the elements. The Lord creates everything. In fact, the Lord has even created form. How? He created a lotus flower from his navel, and Brahma was born. There was already form. So the Supreme Lord already created all of these things. And then Brahma takes them and uses the building blocks, as in Prabhupada, as Mukunda-Datta Prabhu referred, quoted Prabhupada. Prabhupada says Brahma is the engineer. So here it says 9, and then there's one more. So you have 9 types. Of these 9, 6 are by the Supreme Lord, and they'll be described later. Right in the following verses, they describe the 6 types of creation that happens, beginning from the pradhana, or the unmanifested material nature, kala choditat, by time, influenced by time, starts to manifest and turn into mahattattva. So that's the first one that begins, and then it goes on like that. And that's all by the Supreme Lord directly. So 6 happen by the Supreme Lord, and 3, Vaikrita, is Brahma himself. So what happens with the Supreme Lord? Supreme Lord creates, he expands himself as Hiranyagarbha Brahma, and then there is prototypes of everything that have been created. The prototype demigods, everybody has been created, and that's what the Purusha Sukta is describing. And Brahma is an engineer. What does an engineer do? Engineer already has instructions of what he needs to do, and he engineers something into existence. He looks at the prototypes which have been downloaded in his head by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. His very body is made totally of intelligence, and he looks at these prototypes and he creates them. And he looks at these qualities and he creates everything. So this is the 10, and then what is the 10 types of, so the 10th creation is a combination of Prakrita and Vaikrita. That's also described later, that there is the Supreme Lord also getting involved and Brahma also, and both of them together. It's the final creation that happens. So, and then you have annihilation. So here there's 3 types of annihilations that have been described, and I'm going to primarily speak about annihilation. Before that, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in commentary to this verse, so Maitreya, I'm sorry, this is Maitreya speaking to Vidura, and just 2-3 verses before the Lord stopped speaking. So here Chakravarti Pad says, for the purpose, the creation which was previously described in detail is again discussed in summary for easy understanding. It is grouped into 10 types. There are 9 types, and the 10th type, which is a combination of material creation and Brahma's creation. So why is this discussed? Why is this discussed easily to understand? Because of understanding the temporary nature of this world. And for the same reason, the annihilation is also discussed. All these things are discussed, and it can seem like, why is this all relevant? Because it's relevant for us to understand that these are all happening by the agency of the Supreme Lord. So a couple of things. As we just saw, people are generally attracted when people accumulate a lot of money, lot of followers, and they start to worship. So, and people attribute, he got a lot of followers, he got a lot of money. Say somebody is a good orator, he's a very good orator. Am I saying that word? Orator? How is that pronounced? So, but they attribute that to him. They don't attribute it to karma. They don't attribute it, yes, he's been blessed by the Lord. Now, when a Vaishnava sees any opulence, anything, someone is very good looking, someone is very wealthy, or he speaks well, or he sings well, he understands this is blessing of the Supreme Lord. And in that way he respects it also. He's like, oh yes, This person, he's been blessed by the Supreme Lord. And therefore, Vaishnavas, even Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, even in commenting about the British monarchy that ruled India, said they're there and they're representatives because they've been given that position by Krishna's sanction. Krishna has sanctioned and allowed them. And therefore we should respect them. If they're allowing us to continue and spread Krishna consciousness, why should we oppose them? Very controversial thing to state during a time when India is being mobilized. The population of India is being mobilized to demand independence from the British. So, the Vaishnavas, they recognize this as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. But those who are conditioned living entities, those who are materialists, they attribute this to the person. They say, oh, he's so wonderful, he's so intelligent, he's so great. And then they try to become a follower of him. They try, and in essence, they become worshippers of that person. We may think it's not necessarily worship, but it is. In one sense, even if we become envious of any person, it is a type of attraction. It is the kind of attraction. They've occupied some real estate in our head. And that type of attraction means that there is some level of worship. It could be anti, but there is some attraction. There is some importance given to this person. And therefore, some people like to be envied by other people. Is it not? They're like, yes, And that's, not some people, many people. That's the whole point of dressing very nicely, flaunting your car. If you got a good car, you see people who have these like fancy cars and they're driving them around, because they want people to become. It's also foolishness, actually, because those who are cultured, they understand that it's better not to be envied by people, because there are people so many people start wishing ill for you and then something does happen. This is called drishti in Indian languages. It is understood that you dress like that, or you may flaunt, but only amongst those who are known to you at generally family functions and this and that. Otherwise, you don't try to show off too much, because you could attract more negative energy than positive ones. But still, people are desirous of name, fame, adoration, so they do this. But the devotee, by reading all of these things, will understand that actually even Brahma is not, everybody calls Brahma as the creator, he's worshipped. But the Bhagavatam shows us that even Brahma is just an engineer. It's the Supreme Lord, ultimately, who's the cause of everything. And from this we can understand, we tend to forget, right? We have a lot of problems in our life. Sometimes we have so many problems. But we are actually in the temple of the Supreme Lord. Here, Supreme Lord. He created all the problems too. All the any single problem that exists is from Him. And all the solutions are also from Him. But we tend to get caught up, and ultimately we need to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. He does protect us. He is the cause of everything. He created everything, and He also annihilates everything. So in terms of annihilation, so here in the verse, there are three types that are described. Kala, Dravya, Gunaihi. So Kala, by time, and Dravya, by an instrument, by means. Dravya refers to an agency. Here it is, Dravya refers to matter, but it also refers to, so here, and then Gunaihi. Gunaihi refers to qualities. But what are these qualities? Three modes of material nature. So, Prabhupada explains the three types: due to scheduled time of annihilation, due to the fire which emanates from the mouth of Ananta, Dravya, and three, due to one's qualitative actions and reactions, karma and guna. So, the three modes of material nature. What is that? Tribhir Gunamayir Bhavir Ebi Sarvam Idam Jagat. So, the three, or what is that? Daivi Esha Gunamami Mama Maya Duratyaya. So, this material energy, which consists of the three modes of material nature, what is that? Which is very difficult to overcome. Mama Maya Duratyaya. Mamevaya Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. So, that one who surrenders to Krishna can overcome that. So, Here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, by time alone, Kala, the second one is the devastation of all universes by the daily destruction of, at the end of Brahma's day, by the fire of Sankarshan and other factors, Dravya, and 3, by the consumption of the body by an individual's actions. So this is very interesting. By an individual's actions, this word qualitative actions and reactions. What is that? There is constant annihilation because of what?
Karma.
Because of karma. The moment we are born, everything goes to hell. Everything, immediately. Immediately, the first thing that goes to hell is our lifetime. It's the moment the clock starts ticking, one is born, you have a certain lifespan that's written on your head, and immediately that's starting to be eaten away. So, this is by karma, because according to one's karma, one's lifespan is determined. You might want to drink some water or stand, or, So, now, according to karma, whether we want to preserve something or not, it will get destroyed. Whether we want, and here's the amazing thing. We may want to preserve our body, we may want to preserve our health, we may want to preserve our wealth. There was one guy, this is a realtor whom we bought this church from. And, the guy, he's in a wheelchair. His body is half dead. He can't stay, he needs an oxygen tank to breathe. And if he spends even 20 minutes away from the oxygen tank, he starts suffering. He needs to go to his car and he needs to pump in high air with a high concentration of oxygen. Otherwise, because his lungs has lost the capacity to derive oxygen from normal air. So it needs air that goes in that's like highly concentrated with oxygen, so that his lungs can just take a little bit out of that air. That's how bad it is. But he was still very interested in being a real estate agent and making money till the last moment in his life. Anyways, he had come 2 years ago to appraise this or give an estimate, the end of 2022, and 3 years. And this time when we were trying to see if he was still there as a real estate agent and looking at trying to find out what the value and all that, he's dead and gone. But he made a lot of money, and he was known as, Georgia's most famous, real estate church seller or whatever. He sells so many churches and made so many millions of dollars. What is the use? What is the use? It was taken away from him. So, this, and as devotees, we have to understand that there's certain things that will never change in our life, and there's things that we cannot change and we cannot control, and lamenting or getting overly worried about those things is useless. Trying to accumulate a ton of those items also is useless, and we can get as much stressed out as we want, we can get as depressed as we want, nothing is going to change. Nothing will change. Better to understand that things are going to run, and that there is constant annihilation always going on, and there's nothing we can do about it. Yet, we can further our Krishna consciousness. Krishna is taking care of us, and He will continue to take care of us. But everything in this world is not going to become perfect. We could wish that things could be different in so many different ways, but it's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of our time. This annihilation is constant, and it's due to one's own karma. It's due to one's own reaction. So that's the whole point. Tolerate it, move on. Tatenu kampam susamikshimano. Offer one's obeisances. Hridvag vabubir vidadan namaste. Offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord. Pray to Him. And continue our Krishna consciousness. There's nothing much we can do about it. There's nothing more we can do. If we try to over-endeavor, we will just increase our suffering. And that is also true here. What happens is, through your karma, what you can do is or through your own actions, you can increase the suffering that you have. In the name of trying to increase pleasure, you can increase suffering. Most of the time, that's what ends up happening. People try to squeeze happiness, squeeze, like this guy, he's so eager to make money, and he's got that joy, he's got some taste of accumulating money, and he wants, with the last drop of oxygen, that's left in his lungs, that has to convert into $1. Every breath has to be earned in dollars. It's so miserable. But can he carry even $1 with him? No. Why are we getting bent? Why do we get overly hung up about our relatives? And it can't be changed. Some things can't be changed. Things can't be changed. Better to execute dharma. Live in a cultured manner. Live in a civilized way. In a manner that we can be Krishna conscious, please the Supreme Lord, live sinless lives, and try to develop taste for the holy name, and go back to Godhead. This is all we got. So then you have Dravya. This is due to the fire that emanates from the mouth of Ananta. So if we read, actually, there was does anybody know the title of the chapter that describes the annihilation in the 12th canto? It's 12.4. No. It's very interesting. The title says 4 types of annihilation. 4 kinds of annihilation. So I was like, what is this? 3 kinds and 4 kinds? Is it 3 or is it 4? So the 4th type of annihilation is actually liberation. That's what's described in that chapter. That ultimately the best kind of annihilation is when the living entity destroys his inclination to enjoy separately from Krishna, and achieves liberation and escapes the material world and goes back to Godhead. This is the 4th type of annihilation. So, in that chapter, so we can see here, actually I wanted to read, but it's 8:30, so I'm not going to read that chapter. But in brief, what happens? So, you have the Sarga and Visarga. You have Sarga, creation of the Supreme Lord, Prakrita, and then you have Vaikrita, that which is created by Brahma. So that which is created by Brahma is destroyed by Dravya. And that which is created by the Supreme Lord, Prakrita, is destroyed by the same thing that created it. What created this world? Time. Avyaktat kalachodhitat. We read this in a few verses before this. Avyaktat kalachodhitat. That this avyakta, which is the unmanifested pradhana, was created by time. And what is time? Time is Krishna himself, and time is the will of the Supreme Lord. Also described, Kala is the will of the Supreme Lord. So, by the will of the Supreme Lord, that was created, and by his same will, this is destroyed. But what is destroyed by the Dravya? That is due to the fire, which is in this case due to matter. And what types of matter happen? So when it's time for Brahma's creation to be wound up, which happens in 2 ways. At the end of Brahma's life, actually there are minor destructions also. There are minor annihilations that happen during Brahma's day. If Brahma yawns, there is a little destruction. He feels little sleepy, little bit. If he exhibits tamagun, immediately some part of the universe gets wiped out. Sometimes Brahma takes a little snooze in the day. That causes partial. It doesn't destroy the heavenly planets, but the planets up to the earth are destroyed, and then they're recreated again. So, and if Brahma snoozes, something, if Brahma yawns, even something terrible happens. So, what is to be understood is that as one elevates oneself to the heavenly planets and beyond, up to the realm of Brahma, even a little tamogun causes such a heavy reaction. That's what it means to be elevated. Versus the more you go down, adho gacchanti tamasaha, urdhvam gacchanti sattvastha. The mode of goodness increases. Brahma is also a Brahmana. He is the original Brahmana. So, generally, he is situated in the mode of goodness. When he has to create, he is influenced by the mode of passion and he creates. But generally, he likes to keep himself in the mode of goodness. He originates all the 4 Vedas. You cannot understand the Vedas if you are not in the mode of goodness, at least. So, even a little ignorance causes such tremendous reaction. And when the demigods, they get influenced by ignorance, when Indra gets influenced by ignorance, what he does? He ignores his guru. His guru walks into the court, he ignores him. Terrible reaction. So, versus in this planet, you're allowed to have some level of ignorance. You don't get that big of an immediate reaction because this is the life form. What does it mean? What does it, what, is it just theoretical knowledge to us? How is it relevant to us? That devotees, what is that verse? That samahasate suraha harava bhaktasya kutam. How does it begin? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunas tatta samasate suraha. That when a devotee practices devotional service, he develops the qualities of the demigods. What does that mean? That means, as Bhagavatam says, what is that? Tada rajas tamo bhava kamalobhadayasche chete ete ranavidham stitam sattve prasidati. That the modes of ignorance and passion start to go away and one becomes established in goodness first and then in Shuddha Sattva, in pure goodness. So, for a devotee to be influenced by the mode of ignorance is an embarrassment. Of course, it doesn't mean that one shouldn't, but you see actually, therefore, the Goswamis are glorified. Nidrahara vihara kadi vijitau. That they have conquered sleep. They conquered all of these things. They're so exalted, they don't even exhibit it. Prabhupada was a good example of this. You cannot artificially achieve that platform, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to root out ignorance in our own personal lives. It's very, very important. And this ignorance causes doubt, confusion, all these kind of things. So, if Brahma is influenced by a little mode of ignorance, it's such a terrible reaction. Not as, obviously you can see, when Indra is influenced by the mode of ignorance, it doesn't cause that big of a reaction, but there is some reaction. The demigods become bereft of a king. The demons overrun the heavenly planets. It causes turmoil in the universal structure, but it didn't destroy, like literally it didn't wipe out entire sections. But you can see how it is. And in this case, we can also understand, the more one becomes senior devotee, the more one's ignorance has repercussions. It creates waves in devotee society. It's scary. But it happens with the demigods. It'll happen with us also. If one practices this, if a sannyasi or somebody in leadership or, some senior devotee or guru or temple president, they're caught stealing money, cheating on one's wife or whatever that may be, or it's such a huge deal. It makes people lose faith. It causes destruction. It's a type of annihilation. Right? So, anyways, going back to the topic of the 3 kinds of annihilation. So Brahma's Vaikrita, his creation, Visarga, is destroyed by Dravya. And this Dravya happens when it's time, when it's at the end of the day of Brahma, there is 100 years of no rain, of severe drought. And, people start to eat each other and all this kind of absolutely crazy things happen. And then it rains for 100 years. And then Anantasesh burns. Actually, first what happens is there's no rain. Then Anantasesh burns everything. Then it rains. And then it fills the entire... so what happens is the entire Brahmanda gets filled up with water, completely with water. And then what happens is then so with that, this second type of annihilation is over. Dravya, through the means of through matter is finished. Now what happens? The third type of annihilation, through Kala. So now it's time. So now everything is over. There's no living entity. Even Brahma is gone. There's a purport in the Bhagavatam. I pulled it up, but then I forgot to note it down, where Prabhupada says that the residents of Tapaloka, they are on Brahma's time scale. Maharjanas, Tapas, Satya, they're all on Brahma's time scale. And when it's the end of the day of Brahma, Anantasesh releases his fire from the bottom of the universe. And he decides, enough with all of this nonsense, let's just burn everything up. He gets vexed, it says it gets vexed with the living entities, not reforming there. Because he's sitting there for the entire creation, he is glorifying Krishna, waiting for these living entities to finally, and Krishna is coming, all these incarnations are happening, and Anantasesh is glorifying how the Supreme Lord and his associates have tried so much and have executed so many pastimes in order to attract the conditioned living entities back to Godhead. And after all these things, these people are never changing and finish the whole thing up, burn everything. So he gets angry, he burns everything, and the residents of Tapaloka, they feel the heat from coming from below. And instead of getting burned, what they decide is they turn their attention to the Supreme Lord, and they also, along with Brahma, transfer themselves to the spiritual world. Those who have become devotees, of course. So along with Brahma, they all get transferred to the spiritual world. And with that, the Dravya annihilation is over, and then the Kala annihilation happens. And in the Kala annihilation, the reverse happens. Earth gets dissolved into water and loses what? It loses fragrance. Earth loses fragrance. So then, water merges into fire and loses what? Loses taste. Then, heavy wind blows, and this wind absorbs the quality of fire, which is form. And then sound absorbs ether. Sound absorbs fire. And what does it absorb? Wind. Oh, I said fire. Yeah. Sound absorbs air. And what is the quality of air? Touch. So that gets withdrawn. It gets compacted into ether and unmanifest. So each thing, more unmanifestation. Then ether itself merges into the three modes and disappears. And then the three modes merge into each other by the force of time. And then the Mahatattva, which is consisting of the three modes, by the agency of time, turns into unmanifest pradhana, at which state it has no description. It has no quality or exhibit. It doesn't exhibit any quality or characteristic. It is just matter in its raw material form as the external energy of the Supreme Lord, finished. And it stays there. And that unmanifest state, all the living entities are merged into Mahavishnu in a state of susupti or deep slumber, and the entire material creation is closed up. So these are the three kinds of annihilation. So I'll end my class there. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to ask.
Hare Krishna. So we see in Markandeya Rishi's pastime, it was a partial annihilation, or was it a full annihilation? What was
I think Markandeya Rishi was partial. I'm not.
Anyone remember?
I'm not sure actually. I don't remember so well.
Mitravan? Because it's said that there's
I think it was partial, because I think he wanted to live until the end of the day of Brahma or something like that. What did he want to live until the end of life?
He wanted to see the power of Maya. That's what he wanted to see.
Yeah, but he was, I think he was there till the end of the day of Brahma.
I see. Because in that it's said that there's one description that says there's no living entities, but then it says that how when he was swimming he would see Timingala fish fighting each other.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems like even all the way up till the last point, there are living entities.
They're up to the last point until Brahma leaves the universe.
Until the last point. Okay. You know, and this
Once Brahma is left, there can't be, because Brahma is the first living entity and he will be the last.
this
So in the process of annihilation, as the denizens of the higher planets are leaving or whatever, this stuff going on.
this verse that you were quoting about how every element enters into another until it's all wrapped up. And then what's amazing is after saying all this, Shukadeva Goswami asked Maharaj Parikshit a rhetorical question, do you understand this? And he says, O king. And then Prabhupada, Vishnu Chakri Thakur, it's
It's
there
not
in the
Prabhupada,
commentary,
yeah.
it says that the reason Shukadeva Goswami called him O king was to drive home. It was sarcastic because one may think, oh, you're a great king or whatever, but all the elements in themselves are not going to exist. Everything is not
Yeah.
going to exist. So, what to speak of your position as a great king?
Yeah.
And that itself is good. Anyway.
Yes.
Prabhu, you made this comment about like a blemish on the character of a senior devotee is also like a kind of annihilation. And I was thinking about this verse of Sarva Dharma Pratyaja that Krishna says he, removes all of your sinful reactions. So wouldn't it be that for a devotee who's following that, Krishna wouldn't force that person into such embarrassing circumstances like you said, breaking this vow or that vow. So why do these things happen specifically to a devotee?
Well, Krishna doesn't force. The devotee is tempted by his own material desires and a lack of, also having taken up Krishna consciousness seriously enough. If a devotee always prays to Krishna for protection, then Krishna will protect him, and will also, like he may experience some embarrassment, but ultimately he will be saved. He will be protected. But when a devotee forgets that Krishna is, a devotee forgets, he becomes casual. He becomes callous towards Maya. He takes things in a easygoing way. Then generally some slap from Maya is expected to be scheduled. But it doesn't, there's sometimes, at least, I used to think that, man, that just means that we just have to always remain like scared and we have to be serious, and it's not like that, but actually what it means is we need to be humble. I used to think that it had to be scared. It has nothing to be scared. It just has to be humble, that's all. I'm so insignificant. And always being in that mindset of being insignificant, that I can be, I'm nothing without the protection of Hari Guru and the Vaishnavas. That's the state of mind that we tend to forget. So and we forget that because of sometimes becoming attracted to the concept that we're the enjoyer. We do want things to, want to control things. We want things to function in a certain way, and we tend to forget that. And now, when a devotee forgets, Krishna reminds them in multiple ways. But in spite of that, if they have developed a bad taste, they have developed a taste for bad things, money, wealth, followers. I don't know. I was just talking with Bhakti Vikas Maharaj the other day, and some topics of corruption and things like that came up, and it was just all kinds of things that have happened in different temples, of how temple presidents with money, with power, and it's very, very, very upsetting to see. And Mahotsa was quoting a lecture of Maharaj in that conversation to Maharaj, where he said that, why don't you quote it again? ISKCON has problems because of what? This deity worship?
My Guru Maharaj said in one lecture, I told him that, he said that ISKCON, the two reasons for ISKCON's, all of ISKCON's problems, especially in the past, all the fall downs. One of them is offenses to the deities and deity worship. Second thing is eating of karmic grains.
Yeah. eating of karmic grains. So it's such a serious thing. You know, when Maharaj was recently speaking about karmic grains, a devotee we know texted Mahotsav Prabhu on WhatsApp, what is karmic grains?
Karmic
Grains.
What is karmic?
He's never heard the word karmic grains. This is a devotee who's initiated chanting 16 rounds and
64 sometimes.
and all that. His whole family is actually initiated. He doesn't know what karmic grains are. That's so, you know. And Maharaj was making the point that we cannot underestimate the influence of non-devotees on our consciousness, and how much that just, you know, therefore devotees should always live in the association of devotees. And again, because of pride, you know, we have, obviously it's not easy living in a community. It comes at a huge cost. Comes at a cost. But that cost is worth it. Yeah, if there's anything else from others. Nimai.
I'm a little confused. You were like mentioning at the end of the partial annihilation, and then Tashay just burns everything, and they feel the heat, and then they go to the spiritual world with Brahma.
Yeah, well, it's not just the partial. That happens at the end.
So they only, okay, so I was a little confused.
Yeah. So, in partial also Anantasesh burns, but he doesn't burn everything. He burns to some extent. So, but in the full annihilation, he decides to burn everything. And the partial annihilation also happens in other ways, by flooding and things like this. So, but the point is, it's dravya, it's through matter, or it's through an agency. So in this case, the agency of Ananta, or the agency of flooding, something like that. Yeah.
In that same conversation we had with Maharaj, he was telling us that just this vow to only take Krishna Prasadam will save us from such a so much difficulty. And he said, this is like, I mean, it seems really silly, right? Come on, what's the problem? And what's the problem? You know, why Maharaj was saying, taking prasadam at fixed times every day, and taking only prasadam.
Well, he said that in regards to that, you know, if you're okay with eating karmic grains, then, you know, when you cross by a restaurant, or you cross by all this, immediately you're salivating.
Yeah.
And he said, what is this? You know, what kind of consciousness can one maintain as a devotee if, whatever, you cross a store selling hot samosas or pizzas or whatever, and you know, it's like something like that or whatever.
And Maharaj we were telling Maharaj that we were with a big vice president, Guruji of a big ISKCON temple, you know, Sanskrit scholar, and has all these very esoteric books, very hard to find, Prabhuji. You know, he had all this stuff. And he was telling me, just before I came to America, Maharaj Ji came to our temple, and you know, it was so amazing. He was in our library, this and that. And then he said, but Maharaj gave me one instruction, very hard to follow. And I was thinking, what did he ask you to do? Sell like 1,000 Bhagavatams every day? Maybe did he ask you to take sannyas and only eat, like maybe like drink buttermilk? What did he ask? He said, Maharaj gave very hard order. I said, Prabhu, what is it? And he said, not to eat outside food. I was shocked. I was like, that is your big that is the big thing that Maharaj asked you to do, not eat outside food. But that's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's crazy how karmic grains have infiltrated the devotee society and have just, we've lost support. We lost to Ritviks. Come on, why do you think these things are happening? You know, we're eating all this garbage food. It's just horrible.
Whatever. Okay, anything from the women? No. All right. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Mukunda-Datta Prabhu ki jai, Sri Srīdhara Pandita ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha, Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Namo Namaha.